Donald Trump. Donald Trump, 45, the 45th President of the United States. He is the very definition that we speak about. That would be white privilege. White privilege. I remember a time not that long ago, white men argued that in America there is reverse racism. Reverse racism. That's one of those things that has gone on for a very long time. And that is the idea of the lie. Racism doesn't exist. The lie. You all must be exaggerating. Or what about black on black crime? If we start talking about the product, if we talk about the history of why it is all something that is the product of the white lie. That the white privilege. See, with white privilege comes the ability to lie. It can be apparent to everyone. Nothing's done about it. At least that has been the norm. Nothing would be done about it. Nothing. It will go unsaid, or there would be explanations. No matter what, it would just continue. It would go unchecked. So Donald Trump is the epitome of white privilege. Because no matter how big the lie was, no matter how incredible the ability to look at a camera, keep a straight face, he would simply just do it. Now, it was a tactic that the Republicans used, and that was the ability to smile. That was the ability to smile, and when they figured out no one would pay them any attention, if they were yelling and screaming, they would smile, and they would all have the same expression on their faces. It was the ability to do so based on white privilege. They can't possibly be malicious in intent if they did so. So, Donald Trump. Yeah, back to Donald Trump. There was said that there was a group. They sponsor the national prayer that all presidents attend, or at least since their inception. There's the idea that using religion and using religious icons, I would use that term, icons, that goes along with the theme of money that we live by. Profits. in their interactions. And that the idea that we sell to the people the lie, and that lie would be we will do business with the devil, because who else would know how to take on others who were the bad people? And of course, the bad people were anybody who weren't of European descent, Caucasian, or otherwise known as white. You know, that's just one of the groups. You can look the information up. There's many of them. I won't bore you with a list of them, but trust me, you can find them. It's easy. But the National Prayer Breakfast, that's one you can look up. Give you something to do. Invest a little time into it. But white privilege is the reason why we have Donald Trump. Those of us who are silent, who are Caucasian, of European descent, or commonly known as white, enjoy the white privilege, even if they don't. Put on the hood. Take the oath. A prayer breakfast. Perhaps. White privilege. White privilege is the ability to slow down video footage of a man being beaten by a number of other men with clubs, and they have guns. That in and of itself would make someone submissive, or more agile, or wait a minute, that's not the word I want to use. Docile. Forgive me. Docile. It's been a long day. Wow. I hope we edit that part out. The white privilege allows the ability to, in a court of law, slow a video recording down so that it goes in slow motion. And then the verdict comes back that this very violent act wasn't as violent as it looked to the public. White privilege. Donald Trump and all those who stood in front of a camera and lied to the American people, lied to the world, and the world knows it's a lie. The world has known it's been a lie for a very long time. Really crucial is the behavior that it actually gave permission to the world to come into the United States of America and treat portions of its citizens in a manner that wouldn't be accepted by any self-respecting, red-blooded American. And because that a lie exists here, if you are of European descent, you had money, you are fair skinned, you can come into this country and abuse some of its citizens. Well, I take that back. If you had money, and you had those other attributes as well, because we have to explain the people of color who come from the continent of Africa, and they too come into this country and they jump into the role of white privilege, but only because they have bought their way in. Now, they may be treated the same way by some of them, but the majority of them with education, with money, who happen to live in the same neighborhood, yeah, well, they do get some perks. Money does have that advantage. But lies, these lies are all because of white privilege. For a very long time, until this moment in time, as white privilege existed, even when no one was looking, one might feel inclined to feel bad for the damage white privilege causes. It didn't used to be until this time that they would speak out. 2020 is a funny thing to think about, those numbers. When we think about perfect vision, or the best vision to have regarding what we see, using our eyes, 2020 is where you want to be. Now, given the idea of the ability to be able to see, doesn't always require that what we're seeing is being seen using our eyes. There's the idea of seeing from the mind. There's the idea of seeing from the heart, the soul, the spirit. Well then, that 2020 would speak volumes. It could actually really change things. Because it is very apparent, and it was apparent to even our legislative body in the 1950s, that what we saw could be used to trick us or to manipulate us. In the 50s, 15, 18 governors, they were afraid that advertising. Yes, advertising. Um, what's caused this country a great disservice. They were right. Funny thing is, they didn't continue to pursue. See, white privilege is shown to us constantly. It's changed over the past few years. It hasn't changed enough because it's not fully effective if you give a certain amount. Show a few faces here. You have a few shows there. You do these things. The effect is not as dramatic as it could be. You know, it's a good thing. Inevitably, everything changes. Everything. Nothing stays the same in regards to staying exactly as it is in this moment. This moment will pass. This moment will go away. Creator willing, there'll be more. For me, at least. And surely for others. White privilege. White privilege allows lies to be told, excuses to be made. White privilege allows for one to be indignant about something they would never accept for themselves. White privilege if I was privileged to be able to travel around the world, it would mean I have the ability to travel around the world. And if I'm privileged, I'll be able to spend my time in the best places, at least that money could buy. It could allow me to enjoy the best things that are offered. Not just that money could buy in the sense of what we call the civilized world, but it's also in the natural world to get to enjoy it, to get to appreciate it. That's what privilege would give you. Heck, you even find it in some commercials used exactly that way. White privilege allows that, or at least has always allowed it to be that way on this piece of land we call the United States of America. See, once whites got here, and I have ancestors that were Europeans, but Not a whole lot. That's pretty evident, at least from what it looks like. There were no advantages for the others. And I mean others meaning others, any others other than those of European descent, Caucasians, commonly known as whites. Commonly known as whites. The Indians, Native Americans, excuse me. Made them more of that. And I get this wrong. I'm learning. Native Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans. Now it's a little easier as long as you have money, but all along, white privilege. How else can you go along with hurting people? Knowing the facts of the natural world, but still seeing another human being as being beneath you. Heck, your sister, your cousin, your wife couldn't have offsprings with any other species. Your daughter couldn't have offsprings with another species of animal. Yet, convince oneself that someone who is lighter than me is not even human. White privilege. Now, again, back to Donald Trump. So, we want to keep it about him. It's kind of hard to just focus on him because it is white privilege that unleashed him upon us all. You know, when Donald Trump was first elected, I noticed in a small town that I know, car lots, anything that could be bought was available. Everybody, oh no, I won't say everybody, that's taking it too far, but a great majority of the people of this small town, not a wealthy small town, began driving newer model vehicles and buying toys, you know, the kind you commonly find in small towns, four-wheelers, Sea-Doos, and everyone is getting exotic animals, you know, the different mixes, the breeds, you know, white privilege tells those with privilege that they can do anything. You know, there was a moment, not that long ago, that people were being told to take certain measures because if they didn't, there's the distinct possibility that it could cause death. It could cause death to them as well as others. And it was something that moved very quickly, methodically. Very simple, small measures, really. Now I know economically speaking, it didn't feel good, didn't feel good to anyone, but these people decided that they'd had enough. And they was going to tell the governor about it. Their freedoms were being trampled on. White privilege. They were not going to stand for it. White privilege. They were not going to endure it any longer. And someone had the brilliant idea of getting assault rifles. White privilege. And taking their grievances to the state capitol. They did so when met with resistance from the local authorities. I imagine to protect the governor. I won't call white privilege on that one, because any person in office would need to be protected. But it's not the government being protected that I'm going to refer to. I'm going to refer to the line of law enforcement that did nothing, didn't draw weapons. That would have kind of been a stupid move anyway in that situation. Military assault rifle versus a pistol. But because of white privilege, there wasn't military style weapons on both sides. Just the one with the grievances. White privilege. See, if those people who stormed that governor's office look like me, and we were armed with our fist in the air, and we're angry as well, I wouldn't be here today recording this. So again, white privilege. Earlier, I mentioned how I want to keep this on Donald Trump, but kind of hard to do that and not mention other things, other scenarios. Because without white privilege, Donald Trump would not have been able to do or even be where he is today. If it were not for white privilege, that thing that some of us, or actually a good portion of us, have got to enjoy all of our lives, and up until this moment in time, we all would be in a better place already. We would already be in a better place. But that's okay. we are where we are at this moment in time, 2020. We know Donald Trump has lied. Those of us who thought we could benefit off of it and have actually gotten to do so for 3 years, 3+ years, have remained quiet. Those of us who were suffering, some of us for the first time in our lives, because of something like privilege, simply couldn't fight. Simply couldn't win out against. I've started to see, well, not see, but have started to pay attention to our Creator. We can blame someone, somewhere, for it being made, for it being unleashed. I don't even think it was done intentionally. We've been forced to sit still long enough to stop spending all the money that we have, or we want to act like we have. And we have to look at ourselves, especially those of us whose skin color is not dark or brown or tan or any of the variations or shades in between. We had to sit still long enough to think about it. Those people who were feeling as though their freedoms were being taken. It was the uncomfortableness of knowing that there were others who weren't going to continue lying, and it needed to be stopped. On monuments and statues, shouldn't fool ourselves. We'll do ourselves a disservice. Worst of all, the planet.